Hey, it's Flag Zombie and welcome back to the Chinese version of Plants vs Zombies 2. Today, I'll be continuing the best PvZ challenge ever conceived. Can you beat the Chinese version of Plants vs Zombies 2 using only ants? Last time we did Ancient Egypt, now we're heading for Pirate Seas. In case you haven't watched the previous video, I'll give you a little refresher. Ant is a very overpowered defensive plant that constantly heals himself. On top of that, he has a low damaging attack that hurts all zombies in its range. So to remove him, either a ton of zombies have to eat him at the same time, or a zombie's ability has to destroy him in some way. For this challenge, I'm allowed to use plant food and lawnmowers, but that's it. No imitators. Like Ancient Egypt, Pirate Seas gives you a lot of plant food, which will be needed for future levels. Our first special of the world is the Swashbuckler zombie. Since they're basically basics, they won't cause any issues for this challenge. The only thing worth mentioning is that I always plant my first column of ants in the middle because of them. So they still technically affected the challenge. Finishing up with plant food, and that's day 1. Moving on to day 2, we already have our second special, the Seagull zombie. Despite the fact that they're flying, they are low enough that Ant is still able to damage them. So like swashbucklers, seagulls aren't that dangerous at all. The funny thing about day 2 is that they just keep on spamming seagulls after the first one that appears. But even that's not enough to destroy a single ant. Let's speed this up with some plant foods. They really thought they had one there, huh? Day 3 was a locked and loaded level, so I couldn't do anything there. And day 4 was a cannons away minigame level, which brings us to day 5. No new special zombies here, but we do have the first appearance of Bucketheads. As you can imagine, they don't change anything for us here. Even though they can survive a plant food from an ant, all they do is slow me down by taking a while to kill during the final flag. I don't think I need to show you every second of this challenge, so let's cut to the end of this day. Don't forget that Ant's plant food also stuns any zombie that survives it. Just for good measure, you know? There's nothing noteworthy to say about day 6, but we can start to see that the zombies are starting to stack up. Not a single ant has been eaten so far, so it remains to be seen if the levels can spam enough zombies for that to even be possible in the first place. We finally have something new for day 7, which introduces our next foe, the barrel roller zombie. If you haven't watched me overanalyze ant, you might think this will finally be a zombie that can destroy them, right? Well, about that. For some reason, they decided that Ant just wasn't good enough, so they made him able to instantly break barrels. He can't do that against pianists, so they really did that only to piss off barrel rollers. That looked too good not to show. Day 8 was a special delivery, so no Garg fight for this one. On the next day, however, we might finally encounter a zombie that could be problematic. I'm of course talking about the Parrot Captain zombie. They finally did it! It took him 9 levels, but they actually got rid of an ant. Parrots have enough health that Ant's regular attack is pretty much useless against them. Even if 3 of them attack at the same time, it is far from enough damage. So what you have to do is try to kill the captain as early as possible to limit the amount of times he can send his parrot. This is why I'll be planting ants closer to the front moving forward to try and counter them. I need ants at the back for the swashbuckler, and now I need them at the front for the captains. Things are starting to get a bit more interesting. One plant fruit is able to kill a parrot though, which will be very important later, trust me. They still aren't that bad since they still plant fairly slowly, and by the time they do, I just have more than enough time to replace them. A nice thing to note about pirate captains is that they always make a very specific sound effects when they spawn in. This gives you time to react if they decide to send their parrots while off screen. Day 10 starts you off with a free spring bean. Pre-planted plants are fair game, but I'll try not to use them if I can. It killing a few swashbucklers ultimately means nothing for this challenge anyway. The real noteworthy thing about day 10 is the appearance of the final special zombie, the Imp Cannon. While Ant's regular attack is unable to damage them if they appear on non-plank lanes, his plant food on the other hand is a perfect answer. The only way the cannons can be annoying is if they spawn in a lane that is unreachable, like here in lane 5 for example. In those cases, there's nothing you can do other than wait for them to self-destruct. In the meantime, I'm setting up ants even further back in case any imps land that far. I find it really interesting that you want to plant at the front for the captains and cannons, but also at the back for the swashbuckler and cannon explosions. Not like I wasn't going to plant ants on every single tile anyway, but there's still some strategy involved. Somehow. Spring bean successfully protected. Day 11 is more of the same, except it features every single special zombie we've encountered. I told you that Captain sound effect will be useful. I really did not expect to be using sound effects to counter the zombies in this challenge, but here we are. I love how the parrots tried to run away as soon as they saw his plant food ability. They can't land on the first two columns to the left, so planting ants on column 3 completely counters cannons. There's one tiny problem with day 13. Yeah, I need to produce 3000 sun. As good as they are, something tells me that ants can't produce sun, so I don't actually know what to do in this situation. You can't beat the level with only ants, therefore this would be the end of the challenge. But isn't that the most anticlimactic thing ever? Failing the whole challenge because of the sun goal? Seriously? Well, I don't want to be that guy, so I'll say it. It is not possible to beat pirate seas using only ants. It's so lame too, because we all know this objective appears in many other worlds. This video would be boring if I ended here, so as you probably expected, I'll still try the other levels to see if they were beatable or not. Without the sun objective, day 13 is pretty simple. It does have a lot of pirate captains though. There's basically one on every wave, so I actually have to be careful that a seagull doesn't sneak through one of the bottom lanes if a parrot steals an ant. Thankfully they give you plenty of plant foods, although both bucketheads having it is slightly annoying. Oh, would you look at that? The objective was completed. Can't figure out how. On day 14 we have our first endangered plant level with these two spring beans. The level is super short and there is never a time where a swashbuckler can even take a bite out of one of them. The only thing that could make me lose the level is that lonely cannon in the bottom right. But multiple imps would have to land on the spring beans for them to even have a chance. And even if they somehow did, I have plant food, so yeah. As for day 15, the objective is to protect the flower line. I'm not actually sure if the imps can land directly on the flowers if a cannon self-destructs, but I feel like I remember that being a thing that could happen. Well, thankfully for me, not a single cannon spawned in lane 1, which means I was able to destroy all of them with plant food. Day 16 is the first of the two last stands of Pirate Seas. I think you know how this is gonna go. I need to pay close attention to the sound effects to know when a captain spawns. I don't have more sun to replace ants if they get stolen. Those barrels actually did enough damage to put an ant at its first degrade. They don't attack barrels, only zombies, that's why they were able to damage them this much. And it turns out that 3 plant foods was perfect for the 3 wave that had pirate captains. I really thought this one could have been a slight challenge, but it was a cakewalk. Day 17 requires me to kill 20 zombies in 30 seconds. Since ants are very good at stalling, duh, and this level has multiple zombies that spawn even more zombies, this was pretty easy to get. I got it there and I probably didn't even need a plant food for it. There are a lot of captains in this one too, but they would need to spawn so many for me to even struggle. If I showed all of the gameplay, we would be here all day, so I hope you don't mind the cuts. Day 18 was another locked and loaded, while day 19 has another sun objective. So if we go by the title, this level is also not possible. Amazing. Sorry bud, but your headless corpse doesn't count as trampling the flowers. Nice try though. Day 20 was another special delivery. Day 21 on the other hand has another sun objective. They also wanted me to kill 5 zombies in 5 seconds, which was even easier than the one from day 17. I had to use plant food on 2 imps because I didn't have time to set up ants at the back, but it's no big deal. This level's final wave has 1 cannon in every single lane, which is impressive, but not much else. I find it really interesting to compare these levels to the one from the international version. For example, day 21 in the international version only has 2 cannons at the final flag, and no seagulls or captains ever spawn. From my research, this is not because of modern PvZ2 changes, it's just the Chinese version making things harder. Although it is still true that some levels are different because of said modern changes. The sun objective here requires 3250 sun, while in the international version, it was reduced to 2500 after the 10.2.1 update. Just thought I'd share that in case some of you thought 2C just copy and pasted every single 2i level. Day 22 is easily the most iconic Pirate Seas level. That one last stand with no planks. Since every zombie here has basic health, you would think they wouldn't stand a chance, right? I'll just let this play out for a minute. It's always satisfying to look at. They actually ate one! I genuinely can't believe that. Not sure why it was that one in particular that went down, but that is super impressive. It's not like I can't replace him, but I'll let them have their little victory. Wow, you can even see some of them being degraded by the sheer amount of imp spam. Day 23 was very easy. Even if there's a flower line, there are not enough captains to make a difference. Heck, they even helped me here because I needed to kill 8 zombies in 10 seconds and, as you know, parrots count. This level could have been a problem if they spawned swashbucklers for once, since they could easily step on the flowers in the bottom lane because of the parrots, but oh well. Oh my, we might actually have our first challenge of this challenge. Seagulls on their own aren't an issue, as they simply fly over the spring beans. I can't plant on column 4 because the seagulls would get stuck there and be able to eat the spring beans if they ever fall asleep. The waves are light enough that I don't actually have to do much. The spring beans wake up before the seagulls can even reach them. I have my plant food ready if I hear a captain spawn in. Imp cannons are priority number 1 though. I cannot afford to let them live. Do you really just spawn 6 cannons at the final wave? The thing about these spring beans is that they're actually level 4, which means they have extra health. There's nothing I can do about that, unfortunately. There's also nothing I can do about that cannon in lane 1. First loss, but I do believe this is possible. This time, I'm saving all of my plant food for the cannons. There's just no need to use one on the parrots. In case you didn't know, parrots usually can't steal spring beans as long as they're awake. I love PvZ2 hitboxes. Just kill those seagulls and pray the cannon behaves. I really needed it to miss here. Random captain out of nowhere? I swear if that captain sends a parrot at that sleeping spring bean, I quit. And that's the level. Took an extra attempt, but it was indeed possible. And judging by the footage, it was also possible without the spring beans being level 4. So at least that didn't screw things too much. We would normally be done here, but unlike ancient Egypt, you can actually bring your own plants to the Zomboss fight here. Now Zomboss will patiently wait for me to fill the whole lawn with ants. There are a lot of problems that make this level pretty much impossible for this challenge. First off, the zombies are level 2, which means they have more health, but they also eat faster. Second off, ants don't deal a lot of damage to the Zombot, so this fight would probably take an hour if it was possible. Third off, I will eventually run out of sun because none fall from the sky in this level. I was able to make it to the second phase because Zomboss just spawns in a zombie with plant food every time he opens his portal. But that's as far as you can go, since now the zombies are just too strong for the ants. You are not killing a level 2 Gargantua no matter what you do here. You would need to be the luckiest guy on earth where Zomboss just keeps killing his own Gargs, but that's not realistically happening. Maybe this would be possible if there weren't any Gargs, but even then, the leveled zombies would end up stacking up and eating the ants. Something tells me that every Zomboss fight will be impossible, but you never know. So, can you beat the Chinese version of Plants vs Zombies 2 using only ants? No. Thanks a lot for watching and I hope you enjoyed. Shout out to my awesome channel members. Thank you guys so much for the support. Have a nice day, and I'll see you next time.